President Donald Trump had always been known for his fearless approach, but today marked something different. A handwritten letter had landed on his desk, sent from a small-town farmer, John Mitchell, pleading for a visit to his struggling farm. Rather than brushing it aside, Trump did something unexpected. He accepted. As the presidential convoy rolled into the dusty farmland, Secret Service agents scanned the property with guarded eyes. John, a proud third-generation farmer, wiped his hands on his overalls and greeted him with a firm handshake. "Mr. President, thanks for coming, but I won't be sugarcoating anything." Trump smirked. "I wouldn't expect you to." John didn't waste a second. "Sir, politicians promise a lot, but we're drowning. Crop prices fall. Fuel costs rise. Are you here to listen or just to talk?" Trump raised an eyebrow. "John, I respect farmers, but change takes time." John scoffed. "Time's a luxury we don't have. Our land's suffering. Families are going under. Big corporations are buying up everything." Trump folded his arms. "I've done more for farmers than most presidents." John stared straight at him. "Then why am I still struggling?" The tension thickened. Secret Service agents shifted slightly, uncertain whether things would boil over. Then John's wife, Lisa, stepped in. "Gentlemen, how about we sit down inside?" Inside their modest kitchen, John gestured to the refrigerator. "We feed thousands, yet can barely afford groceries." Trump's brow furrowed. "What's holding you back?" John leaned in. "Megacorporations. They buy out land, flood the market, and drive us out." Trump tapped the table. "That's capitalism." John's jaw tightened. "There's a difference between competition and being crushed." Trump turned as Lisa placed a warm plate of homemade cornbread before him. "Mr. President, try this. It's what struggling America tastes like." Trump chewed slowly. "It's good." Lisa smiled sadly. "We sell this at the local market. Still barely make enough to keep going." John added, "This isn't a job to us. It's our legacy. Our kids deserve to inherit the land, not the debt." Trump nodded. "I hear you." John leaned closer. "But do you understand?" Trump glanced around. The cracked walls, faded family photos, worn furniture. This wasn't a rally stage or a strategy meeting. It was real life. For once, he had to stop talking and start listening. John stood and rolled up his sleeves. "Let me show you something." Trump followed him out. John raised his hands, rough, calloused, and stained by years of labor. "These hands have worked this land since I was a boy. My father's did too, and his before him." Trump studied them. "Hard work," he said. John nodded. "But these days, hard work just isn't enough." Trump exhaled. "So, what do you want from me?" John met his gaze. "Not handouts, not speeches. Real action, real protection for people like us, the ones who keep this country running." Trump paused, then gave a half smile. "Ever driven tractor?" "Hop in," John replied, motioning toward his old green John Deere. Trump hesitated, then climbed up. John handed over controls. "This is what feeds America." Trump slowly eased the machine forward, hands tight on the wheel. It wasn't easy. John leaned in. Now do you see? It's more than business, it's personal. Trump nodded, a rare expression of reflection on his face. I get it. John wasn't so sure. Do you? Trump stared out at the golden fields. Maybe not completely, but I'm starting to. They walked back toward the farmhouse. John wiped the sweat from his brow. We're not lazy. We're not begging. But while banks call us a liability, corporations get bailouts. Trump frowned. I believe in free markets. John shook his head. Markets should be fair. Right now they're rigged. Trump sighed. The system's complicated. To us it's simple, John replied. If we fall, America's food supply follows. Trump looked around, the barns, the soil, the grit it took just to survive. And for once, he didn't see numbers or policy charts. He saw people. Lisa approached. Would you stay for dinner, Mr. President? Trump blinked. Dinner? John chuckled. We're blunt, but we're still hospitable. Trump hesitated. His schedule was tight. His staff would object. But he nodded. All right. Lisa smiled. Good. You'll taste what real food is. John added with a grin. And hear more of my complaints. Trump laughed. I figured. As they stepped back inside, John thought, maybe this visit could lead to something real. But he had no idea what was about to unfold. At their worn wooden dining table, Lisa placed a plate in front of Trump, mashed potatoes, grilled chicken, and more fresh cornbread. John smirked. No fancy White House plating here. Trump took a bite. It's good. Lisa smiled. Made by hard-working hands. John leaned forward. You've heard our story. But what happens next? Is this just another meeting? Trump set his fork down. I don't forget conversations like this. John studied him. We'll see. Something about that dinner felt different. Something was shifting. John tapped the table. Farms like ours are forced to sell. The big guys control the market. We can't compete. Trump nodded. What's the solution? Stronger protection. Better trade deals. Trump rubbed his chin. I've been tough on trade. But we're still hurting, John replied. We don't need politics. We need results. Lisa added, farming isn't numbers, Mr. President. It's people, families, generations. Trump looked around the simple home. For the first time, the policy had a face, and it struck a nerve. As dinner wrapped up, John leaned back. So what now? Trump took a breath. I don't make empty promises. Good, John said, smirking, because we don't trust empty words. Trump stood and extended his hand. Give me time. John folded his arms. We don't have time. Trump replied, then I'll move faster. I'll do something about this. And for the first time in a long time, John Mitchell believed maybe, just maybe, someone was finally listening. John hesitated, then shook the offered hand. Then prove it, he said. As Trump left, he paused for a moment, gazing out over the vast fields. This wasn't just about policy anymore. It had become something deeper. John had challenged him in a way few ever dared, and now Trump felt the need to deliver. 2 weeks later, John was repairing a fence line when his phone rang. "This is John," a familiar voice replied. "John, it's Donald Trump." John nearly dropped his phone. "Mr. President?" "I didn't forget you," Trump said. "Something's in motion." John's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "You'll find out soon enough." Click. John stared at the screen in disbelief. He'd been skeptical, convinced the visit would fade like so many promises before it. But now, maybe something really was happening. Lisa walked over, wiping her hands on a towel. "Who was that?" John smirked. "The President of the United States." And for the first time in years, he felt something unexpected. Hope. A month later, John sat in his old truck, the radio playing softly. "We have breaking news," the announcer said. "President Trump has just signed an executive order to protect small farmers from unfair corporate practices." John's jaw dropped. Lisa rushed outside. "Did you hear that?" John jumped out of the truck. He actually did something. Farmers around the country stared at their TVs and radios in shock. A president had not only listened, he had taken action. John, not one to be easily impressed, felt it deeply. This was real. And without even realizing it, he had started something that was now sweeping the country. One quiet afternoon, a black SUV rolled up to the farmhouse. A Secret Service agent stepped out. "Mr. Mitchell, the president would like a word." John blinked. Moments later, Trump stepped out, hand extended. "Told you I wouldn't forget." John shook it, smiling. "I'll admit it, I'm impressed." Trump smirked. "I don't just talk. I follow through." Lisa welcomed him inside with her usual grace. "What brings you back, Mr. President?" Trump leaned forward. "I want to hear more. There's still more to do." John was stunned. The president hadn't returned for photos. He had come back to listen. They walked the property together. "What else do small farmers need?" Trump asked. John didn't pause. "Better roads, access to equipment, support for irrigation systems." Trump nodded. "All right, let's get it done." John squinted. "You serious?" Trump gave him a sideways grin. "You should know by now, I don't joke about winning." John chuckled. "Well, I hope farmers finally start winning." Trump clapped him on the shoulder. "They will." For the first time in a long while, John could see a path forward. Farming no longer felt like a losing battle. Maybe things were changing after all. Soon, reporters gathered at the edge of the property. "Why did the president return here?" one asked. John shrugged. "Because he actually cares." Critics dismissed it as a publicity move, but John knew better. "He listened when nobody else did," he said. Later, facing the press, Trump made it clear, "Farmers are the backbone of this nation. I won't let them fall." In that moment, the usual noise of politics faded. Americans, workers, families, rural communities, saw something rare, a leader taking action instead of making speeches. And John, once doubtful, found himself part of something much larger than he ever imagined. Calls began flooding in from across the country. "John, you actually got him to listen?" John laughed. I just told the truth. For farmers long ignored, someone had finally broken through. Trump called again. John, you become the face of this movement. John shook his head. I'm just a farmer. Trump chuckled. And yet, here we are. John had never wanted fame, but if his voice could help others, he would keep using it. And the fight wasn't finished. One evening, John sat at the kitchen table, going over new agricultural policies. His brow furrowed. We still need long-term fixes. The phone rang again. John, Trump said, I want you on a national advisory board. John blinked. Me? Who better to speak for real farmers? John hesitated. I'm not a politician. Exactly, Trump replied. John looked at Lisa. She nodded. Maybe this was it. The chance to make a lasting change. John walked through the doors of the White House, feeling completely out of place. But as he sat among high-level advisors and policymakers, he realized something. He did belong here. Trump spoke up. John, tell them what farmers actually need. John cleared his throat. All right, let's get to work. He had fought alone for years. Now, he had the most powerful ally in the country. Months later, John stood in his fields, watching his kids race through the crops. Lisa smiled beside him. You changed things. John shook his head. We did. From one tough conversation, a movement had taken root. Farmers were no longer forgotten. And John, still just a farmer, had a voice that now mattered. And to think, it all started with a simple letter that Donald Trump chose to read. Because sometimes the most unexpected conversations don't just make headlines. They change history. And this one did.